how do I put this in a politically correct way? The colonials, a lot of the land there is not owned by the natives.
In Nanyuki?
In Nanyuki or in Laikipia County.
Yes, in Laikipia.
So now you're beginning to deal with a whole different people. Explain to me the challenges now or the process of acquiring land in Nanyuki.
Well, for the most part, I deal with African landowners, the native landowners. And native is also relative. The actual natives are the Maasai, who sold off most of their lands in the 70s to land buying groups made up of Kikuyus and Merus.
What? Even in Nanyuki?
Yeah.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Nanyuki. Most of Nanyuki that is not white owned is owned by Kikuyus and Merus.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, and many of those were bought through land buying groups. And so those are some of the guys we bought from.
Okay. Was it a process to find these people? Were you now learning?
Yeah.
Like, did you know about the history of Nanyuki or?
No, now I was discovering. That's why I spent 3 weeks going. You learn about a place.
You've been told here, don't even bother buying. This is
here, Conservancy. You understand the lay of the land. You'll get common points of information from various people as you interact, brokers, agents, landowners. You do your own research on the internet. You get on the ground. You very quickly you get a sense for what the lay of the land is.
And what about conmen?
Plenty. Yeah. You have to be careful. I mean, you have to know what you're doing. So if you don't have the time to...
And some of that is time wasting. Because imagine a guy taking you throughout a whole place and telling you about land only for you to find out the guy has conned your whole day.
Yeah, as a matter of principle, I do not deal with agents or brokers. If I must interact with one, they have to be in the company of the landowner. If the landowner is not there, I'm not interested. Ever. I don't care how good the deal sounds. I'm just not interested. So over time, you learn what signs to look out for. If they're unwilling to connect you to the landowner, something is fishy. Yeah. If they're legitimate, they will bring the landowner and everything's on the table. It's transparent. And you interact with the landowner, you interrogate the landowner, you negotiate with the landowner. Never negotiate on pricing with anyone other than the landowner.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a lot of the work we do as Goshen Acquisitions, is we sort out that murky scenario so that by the time we're selling to our customers, it's sort of taken care of, but they can also do their own DD. If they listen to any of the counsel we give them, check out the documents, do your searches, ask questions before you pull the trigger.
And Goshen Acquisition never sells land that you don't wholly own.
Absolutely.
You're not a brokerage.
Yeah, we never act as brokers or agents. If it's not ours, you will not hear about it from us. So we have to own it, because how else would we guarantee the sanctity of documents? We're not going to risk any of our borrowed capital as a business, or any of our own capital, if any of our own capital is used, on something that's questionable. Yeah, so we have to own the property first. That way we have sort of sanitized or ensured or qualified that the documents were clean. Then we do our own process, keeping with the law, the zoning requirements now by every county, which is why we've never really offered 50 by 100s. In most parts of the country, it's illegal unless you change use, which most land sellers do not do, which land buyers are unaware of.
So, in fact, I love this. We'll after this question, we can understand your first purchase in Nanyuki. But what you're saying is it's illegal for eighths. This thing that guys talk about eighths.
Most eighths you will find are on freehold agricultural land.
What does that mean? Explain that in layman.
It's land that's zoned for agricultural use. And it's freehold, meaning you have perpetual ownership of the land. without paying taxes to the government.
So it's like land in Nairobi is not freehold.
There are certain pockets that are,
Okay.
but it's very rare.
What's the opposite of freehold?
Leasehold.
Leasehold.
So leasehold is land.
The 999 years, is it?
Yes, the maximum is 99 years.
Oh, so it's not. It was moved from 1,000 years.
Yes, it used to be 999 years,
Mhm.
but the 2010 Constitution cut that down to 99 years for good reason. But in urban centers like Nairobi, you will find leases as low as 39 years or 59 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, that are renewable.
And meaning you own this land you lease this land for that one, and it's literally owned. You're leasing from the government.
You own it for a limited time.
Oh man.
Yeah. So what you're buying is you're buying the right to utilize the land for the limited renewable time, though. They're always renewable.
Yeah.
Provided you've been paying your rates and rents and you apply for renewal in time, it's a pretty standard procedure.
So now you're getting in the mix and learning all of this.
Yeah, baptism by fire, man.
Yeah.
It's but I love it. You know, I love being up and about, scouting for land. I'm discovering corners of our beautiful country.
Yeah, you're in Kisumu just the other day.
Yeah, man. Oh my God. First time in Kisumu proper. I'm from Webuye and I've never really spent time in Kisumu. I was blown away. That place is gorgeous. My goodness. I went all the way up to a village called Sakwa, which is about an hour and a half from Kisumu town. In terms of driving, oh my God. A peninsula surrounded by freshwater lake, eating fresh tilapia all day long. Nice breezes. I mean, it's this country is stunning.
Yeah, in fact, the other day you were also again in Diani.
Yes, I mean, Diani speaks for itself. Best beach on the African continent for, I think, 6 out of 10 years in a row. That speaks for itself. Diani is stunning.
Yep.
It's beautiful. So that keeps the job interesting. I'm learning about our country and I'm having fun. So it's not a chore for me, and I am genuinely passionate about land investment and creating safe opportunities for fellow Kenyans to invest in their home.
Okay, I want to speak about Nyanyuki a bit in terms of your acquisition of land in Nyanyuki.
Yep.
How does that start?
Acquisition of land in Nyanyuki. In general, it's the same everywhere else. Assuming you've come to terms with the landowner and you've done your DD.
So you, of course, you met the landowner.
Yeah, you negotiate price. You either agree or you don't agree, and you keep looking, or you agree and you prepare sale agreements. After confirming that the documents are in order with your searches and so on, you confirm identities. So a lot of people think DD for land only involves doing a title search. It doesn't. You have to make sure you're paying the right person. So the title might be legit, but then you're paying the wrong person. So we also do DD on the individual. So you confirm that the identification documents are legitimate. They have a KRA PIN that matches what the government has on record. You can also apply for a search on their ID to the registrar of persons, and they will confirm that the copy of ID you're presenting is accurate based on what they have on file.
So, man, this is crazy. You've never done this, but I remember one time you wanted to do a video where you say that the title deed is the most useless document.
Yeah.
And you actually literally wanted to tear a title deed on camera just to show people.
Just to prove to people that, it's a piece of paper. It's a token for something else. And that something else is it's infinitely more important than the title. That file at the registry, which includes
So
your
that
green
document
card.
represents the file at the registry.
Yes.
What are some of the documents that are in there? The green card?
Green card, white card. So green cards generally go with white cards. They contain different sets of details about the same piece of land. Will contain defaced mother titles if what you're considering is a subdivision of something else. History of ownership, any records around loans that might have been secured by the land, any land disputes, any fraud issues that the land might have been implicated in the past that you're not aware of, that might impact on your decision to buy or not. Very important file. That file, together now with a registry index map, because of the digitization of the registry, would mean way more than your title deed. Yeah.
Okay, so you acquire this land in Nyanyuki. How many acres are we talking about your first investment?
The first one. So we purchased 11.5 acres. Those were the sizes they came in. A place called Karyonga. We purchased from Wheeler dealer in Nyanyuki. And then subsequently purchased other 11.5 acre blocks over time from other individuals.
So where's the capital coming from?
Same groups of guys, private capital from the life group guys, 300k here, 400k there.
These guys literally helped you start your business.
Yes, 100%. Without them, I am not sure we would have started at all, or if we did, not at that time.
What?
Yeah.
So they are you buying this one again now to sell, to subdivide and sell?
Yeah, we bought it, subdivided into half-acre parcels, and sold.
And
yeah, it took us, I think, 3 years for that cycle. Yeah. So over time, I have tended to want to hold land a bit longer before I resell, just to allow values to go up and I can maximize my returns. So by the time we finished subdividing and selling, it was almost 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, with that kind of delay or that kind of time period, first and foremost, how are you then eating? Secondly, now, the same investors, are they like, yo, man, this other one took 18 months. I'm waiting for 300 and something percent return on this next one. And that cannot always be the case.
No.
So now you begin, let me say, how then do you have that kind of conversations with your investors? Because these are your investors.
You just have to be candid, man. Sometimes they don't like it. But you just have to be candid. These are the issues we're having. Sometimes the projects have taken longer to exit because of corruption at the counties that delay certain permissions. Sometimes it's factors outside anyone's control. For instance, when Honorable Kaimeni was a cabinet secretary for lands, one of the first things he did when he took office, he disbanded all land control boards nationwide.
Whoa.
Now, that means if you're dealing with freehold agricultural land, nothing can happen because you cannot subdivide, you cannot sell, you cannot charge, you can't do anything with that agricultural piece of land.
Because it's all done in land board meetings.
Yeah, land control board consents.
Yeah.
So he said it was going to take 14 days to reconstitute, and that ended up taking almost a year.
What?
Yeah. So for a solid year, if you are keen to do things ethically and in keeping with the law and the policies, procedures set out by the Ministry of Lands, you could not transact. So you have a period of time where the project can't proceed. Now, in that same period of time, and this is one of the frustrating things about explaining to investors why we're experiencing delays, because in the same period of time, other competitors may be subdividing and selling. So the question is, how come they're able to and you're not? And then you have to get into the intricacies of explaining that because we do things ethically and we don't bribe the officials for the permissions, even though they're not supposed to be issuing, then we have to wait. If you don't care about ethics, then we are not the right partners to grow capital.
Have you had to return some investors' money just for that reason?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm all too happy to, because by and large, all our investors are like-minded in terms of ethics and so on. Occasionally, you'll have some who are not as committed to the ideals. And let me tell you something, you really learn a lot about yourself and your partners, people around you, when money is on the line and the clock is ticking. That sort of pressure will squeeze out the real you. And in some of those instances, we learned that this person doesn't really believe like we do, that it's important we do it ethically and cleanly. And in that instance, we part ways.
Okay, but how does then... Okay, I'm had so many questions, but let me start with this one. Then corruption.
Yeah.
So corruption happens in various stages throughout this whole land buying process. Sometimes the people who you're dealing with are actually the government institutions. And if you do not play by their rules, then you are not able to have them issue you with your titles. They can frustrate you because you're not supplying them with their liquid, giving them what they need, facilitating the fee. So how does that work then? How are you able then? Because this one now becomes a case of this guy wants a bribe, but we can't give the bribe, and because we're not giving the bribe, investor, you have
progress.
to wait.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're open with the investor about the reasons, and then they have to make a decision about whether they subscribe to the same ideals or not, and then we figure out a way out. But over that period of time, we've also learned that communication is incredibly important. And so when we're sitting waiting and a year has gone by and there's no progress report, rather than assume that your investor knows you will reach out when there's progress, we're learning that we have to be proactive about updating them.
So I'm hearing about some of the mistakes you made.
Yes.
There are times where you didn't communicate.
Lapses, because if there's nothing has happened, if you've told an investor we're still waiting because of the same reason after 4 or 5 months, you assume they understand the status quo hasn't changed. But not always the case. Sometimes they just like to know that you are still aware they are waiting, and they are happy to be told that the status quo remains the same. Yeah,
that's
so communication is incredibly important.
Okay, so when you're talking about investors, does now the investor pool become bigger than just your life group?
Yeah, it's grown over time. It attracts their workmates, their family, their friends, and the circle keeps getting wider. But we've also learned, as a business, scalability is important. Access to appropriate quantums of capital are very key to how fast you can grow and what storms you can weather. So we're in a situation where we're positioning ourselves to have those conversations with institutions as opposed to private investors, individuals rather.
But your company predominantly grew by private investors coming in. A guy gives you his 5 million bobs, his 3 million bobs.
We've never borrowed from a bank until date. It's always private individuals. Yeah. I mean, there's practical reasons for that. Now, private capital can be considerably higher than institutional capital. For instance, when I was busy giving my investors returns of 300%, our auditors would ask, why didn't you just borrow from the bank and pay 15% interest instead of giving up, 300%, 275% extra? And you have to explain, if I borrow from the bank would want to charge the title, which means I can't subdivide and sell. And then I'm also saddled with monthly interest payments I have to make. Where's the money coming from if I haven't sold? And I can't sell without subdividing. And I can't subdivide because the same bank has charged the title. So it works against you. So private capital is easier. It allows you to do what we need to do without encumbering or stagnating the processes we have to undertake. So you pay a price. It's more costly, but you're able to cycle out. A bank will bleed you dry with interest and then foreclose on you when you can't pay. and you're double negative.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Okay, so now as this company begins to grow, first and foremost, we can't talk about every land transaction that you guys have done because there's quite a couple. But you have done some strategic land investments, for example, in Elementaita.
Mhm.
That is, I mean, you can count how long Elementaita is in terms of its land by finite God-given parcel. I mean, God-given feature. So it's not too much land on that. Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, we how did I discover Elementaita?